So, Mother Nature storms in, no pun intended, and shakes up the infrastructure. Teams come up with important strategies while racing through slick conditions and turning left and right this time around. And an unexpected series of mayhem at the end stirs the fan base over how the finish should've or could've gone. What is going on, everybody? It's Rigzer here, and today we'll be taking a look at what went on Sunday afternoon as the 2022 NASCAR Pinty Series season continued its journey, arriving at the prestigious road course known as Canadian Tire Motorsport Park in Bowmanville, Ontario for race 2 out of 13. If you haven't yet, I highly recommend you go and watch my first race review video going over the season opener at sunset so you remain caught up on what has gone on so far this season. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss out on anything else. So, one race down, 12 more to go. The series arrived at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, or MOSPORT for short, for a 51-lap shootout around the esteemed 10-turn circuit. The entry list turned out to have the potential for 27 or potentially more cars, with many new faces popping up after sunset, including road course underdogs Daniel Boy and Matthew Scannell. Ray Jr. Courtmoss driving in the number 8 car as the car's designated driver for the road courses, and rookie LP Montour driving in a second car for LP Dumoulin's team. In the track's history, at least Pinty series-wise, it seems to have always been a place for the veterans to visit Victory Lane. Names like Kevin Lacroix, LP Dumoulin, and Andrew Ranger all pop up across the board with multiple wins at the track, no matter whether it's the first or the second race at the track in one season. However, as I said at the end of my Sunset Race review video, do not count the Young Guns out, especially Trayton Lapcevich, the Sunset Race winner, and LP Montour. On Saturday afternoon in cloudy conditions, LP Dumoulin put himself at the top of the board in practice, scoring the best time at 122.814. Some notable parts of the board include Brett Taylor in 4th, Matthew Scannell in 5th, Daniel Boy in 11th, and Peter Clute in 13th. Despite scoring the second best time, well, it's actually better to technically say he somehow held on to the second best time, because Trayton Lapcevich did do just that. But as in somehow, he crashed into the turn 3 wall, and judging by photos of his massive front end damage, he must have hit pretty hard. The team was able to fix his car in time for Sunday, however, they would have to wait a little while to get to that, because just after practice had been completed, Mother Nature made the decision to creep into the territory and shower down on the track. And I mean shower onto the track. No jokes intended, and being dead serious, a massive storm struck the area. Badly. And when I say badly, I mean badly. Heavy winds and rain, along with severe thunder and lightning, swarmed the area for over an hour, and the hell that came through was unbelievable. Footage from people across social media had some people thinking that a tornado had passed through and caused damage. To be fair, this same weather that went through big places like Toronto produced such power that it literally cut out power and tore down trees and power lines. At the track itself, many campsites and paddocks were severely damaged, as you can see from these photos. Hell, an entire hauler tipped over, and injuries were reported. The Pinty Series paddock was reportedly undamaged, thankfully, but man, it's awful to see how bad the track was hit, and I send my condolences to those who were affected, especially those that had to deal with some form of damage after the weather eventually left. When it did leave, qualifying was called off, giving LP Dumoulin the pole and Trayton Lapcevich the second spot on the front row. The weather continued to remain sloppy on Sunday, as the autograph session had to be cancelled and the race had to start in the wet. It was going to be a race of strategy with a mixture of the wet and slick tires being used. At the green flag, Dumoulin beat Lapcevich to the lead in the first turn, sailing away for a little bit, but Marc-Antoine Cameron would eventually take the lead, hoping to find redemption from his heartbreak at sunset. Behind Cameron in the top 5 for the time being was a series of veterans, go figure, as Dumoulin, Ranger, Lacroix, and Alex Tagliani all looked firm at the beginning of the race. Towards the back of the field, drivers such as Sam Fellows, Brent Weller, and Wallace Stacy all fell into some form of poor luck, whether it was coming down pit road or going a couple laps down. Cameron, Ranger, and Lacroix all found themselves in a sort of pack that had scooted away from the rest of the field by lap 7. A couple laps later, it seemed like Cameron's poor luck was just going to continue as a flat left rear tire sent his number 96 car to pit road, giving Lacroix the lead. Strangely enough, while attempting to get by Peter Kloot, he took a spin and somehow managed to hold on to the first spot. After heading to pit road alongside Andrew Ranger and beating him back on track, Lacroix continued to hold the lead with the choice of wet tires, while Ranger's car suddenly began to billow smoke from the back, eventually sending Ranger out of the race. We'll discuss his situation later, so stay tuned. There isn't much to say for the remainder of the race, at least until the very end, besides a couple of strategies in trying slick tires, Alex Tagliani having a surprisingly slow pit stop, and Kevin Lacroix taking control of the race with a massive lead. Although LP Dumoulin seemed to be shrinking the lead by barely within the final 8 laps, Lacroix looked to be sailing free to his first win of the season and his first since Circuit ICAR in 2021. Marc-Antoine Cameron, however, had different thoughts in his mind, or at least his car did. In a complete swap of last weekend, Cameron turned out to be the reason for the race's first full course caution, as his car eventually came to a halt with no power. We're only 2 races into the season, and yet both times we've had a late caution that has screwed over a dominating driver? Oh my goodness. Well, actually, now that I think about it, it technically didn't screw over someone this time around. Just hold tight. With only 5 drivers on the lead lap, Lacroix and Gary Kloot led the field to green for NASCAR overtime. Alex Tagliani was able to challenge Lacroix for a couple of seconds, but Lacroix's number 74 car was just unbeatable. Literally just like sunset, another restart would be needed as a caution for a 3-car incident involving Dumoulin, Ray Courtemanche, and Peter Kloot sent the field to a second overtime attempt. Courtemanche's car suffered extensive front-end damage, while Dumoulin and Kloot were able to continue. For this restart, I'll do what I did in the last video and just let you watch the finish, and once again, let you decide what you think about it.
Here's Kevin Lacroix. He'll try to make the move as they come under the Canadian Tire Bridge. Lacroix takes a look on the inside of Kloot into turn 8, and Kloot will throw the block.
Lacroix making the move through turn number 8. He couldn't do it. To the inside of 9. Contact! Oh, Gary Kloot into the wall. Kevin Lacroix goes by on the inside. He is loose off of turn number 10. The eBay Motors 200 goes to Kevin Lacroix. Second, Dexter Stacy with a career best 3rd. Gary Kloot looks like he is going to limp home 4th.
We have a lot to talk about. Lacroix was most certainly not screwed over this time around, however, it came at the cost of his reputation. Which, to be fair, most Pinty Series fans would say hasn't been overly great in the past few years. I mean, cue the 2017 Riverside finish between him and Alex Labay.
Oh my goodness! Lacroix is not happy!
Based on what I've seen throughout social media, people are clearly not happy with Lacroix. No crap, but I mean, I do understand it. But at the same time though, I have some personal opinions to express. First of all, yes, Lacroix absolutely sent it in the second to last corner. I'm surprised he did it there instead of the last corner, but we'll get to that in just a little bit. He's pretty damn lucky that he didn't cause a wreck with the send-in, and to be kind of honest, it's kind of impressive. Saying that though will likely trigger some people. That wouldn't surprise me at all. In saying all that though, what do you honestly expect? Time's ticking, and it's Kevin Lacroix of all people. If you're new to this series, this guy is basically a mixture of Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch combined. Dude hasn't won a championship yet, and his driving style is, well, something. The only thing I blame him for here is probably his timing on the go for it move, which is reasonable. Second of all, when you rewatch the final corner moment multiple times, it's actually Gary Kloot's fault. Yeah, go ahead with all the boos and stuff, but I mean, seriously, watch it again. You can tell that Lacroix actually manages to hold his line after the send-in, which, yeah, that's pretty surprising to say the least. and neither car is touching the other. Only a few feet away from the corner, Clute proceeds to turn left in what appears to be a blocking attempt against Lacroix, and what do you know? He spins. Now, you could argue that when Clute goes to turn left, Lacroix then turns right as if to make matters worse. In reality, however, that's technically called a racing incident. I'm not necessarily saying all this was really a racing incident, but some people will have that opinion. In the end, though, it's really how you want to interpret it, like it's beating and banging, which is a common occurrence in the final turns at this track, no matter what series it is. The Truck Series has had many finishes with this pattern, and so is the Pinty Series. I believe that both drivers are to blame, as Lacroix was a bit too aggressive in the timing of his move, and Clute basically turned himself, thus causing him to go around. I will say though, Lacroix's verbal response to the finish in the post-race press conference of all the podium finishers was a bit strange, but I won't bother commenting on that. Oh, and by the way, I'm not even done here yet. The controversy wasn't just on Lacroix. Nope. There was a freaking car stuck in the middle of the track for a whole lap, while the cars were still racing under green flag conditions. What? That is a very, very dangerous situation. Enough said. Anyways, back to mostly positive things. Here are your race results. Lacroix has his first win of the season, which moves him from 5th to 1st in the standings. I can just hear the boos raining down. They're just continuing to just pour down, like Mother Nature did on the track, pretty much. Alex Tagliani comes home in 2nd with a fairly expected good finish on a road course where he shines the most. And take a look at who finished at the bottom of the podium. Dexter Stacy in the number 92 car for Team 3 Red/EHR collects his first podium and first top 5 finish since 2012 at Barrie Speedway. I believe he was en route to only like a top 10 finish before the late race fiasco, so you could argue that he got lucky, but when it came time to shine, he pounced, and he got the free pass with that first caution. Good for him. Gary Clute managed to finish 4th. Understandably, Clute was not happy at all with Lacroix, and you can only imagine there will be a lack of stability between the two as the season goes on. Rookie LP Montour wraps up the top 5 as he started towards the back, and slowly crawled his way up to the solid finish. Lapsovich struggled for the most part, but was able to overcome his struggles in a similar style to Dexter Stacy. Brandon Watson and JP Bergeron come home with decent finishes, and Larry Jackson wraps up the top 10. There's not really a whole lot of other things to say other than some disappointment for some guys like Kennington, Taylor, Cameron, Ranger, and others who all either just didn't have it in them or they just fell to poor luck as the race went on. Matthew Scannell looked really good with his starting position of 5th, but an oil problem caused him to retire early. Another early retiring came from Sam Fellows, who had the absolute worst luck ever, as something in the car broke on just the formation lap. He was able to get 9 laps in, but the opportunity for at best a top 10 finish just never came to fruition. The point standings after MOSPORT look like this, as Lacroix jumps to 1st, Lapsovich drops to 2nd, Clute and Tagliani each move up 3 spots, Watson and Cameron sit tied for 3rd. Rafael Lessard has an incredible drop. I mean, yes, missing a race in this series is pretty painful. You can tell. And Ranger falls to 17th as he continues to remain in early season misfortune. It's so strange to see a guy like Ranger be so off to begin the season. However, I actually did get some very valuable information from someone who happens to be close to the Lapsoviches. In a nutshell, Ranger is using an old car that he absolutely hates, and crew chief Caden is working hard to give him a new car. It might be a while until we see Ranger back in his true form, unfortunately. Like we did in the first race review video, I must give this race a rating out of 10. It's a bit hard to call because not a whole lot truly happened until the end, and to be fair, the late chaos did help to bring the rating up, which probably would have been at least a 5 or a 6 had Lacroix just went sailing to victory at first. Before the cautions and stuff, yeah, you know what I mean. With everything that happened at the end, we'll give this race a fair 7. Some will argue that the Lacroix and Clute controversy plus the stock car stuff is actually supposed to drop the favorability, but I mean, those late restarts did give us good racing, and regardless of what you think about the final corner, final lap shenanigans, it was still classic Pinty series beating and banging to the end. Just a simple clash between aggressive and clean, and it may suck, but it's needed to keep the sport alive and running. With MOSPORT now out of the way, at least the first race there to be specific, we now move on to race 3, which will be at Autodrome Chaudière in Valier-Jonquière, Quebec, which will be on Saturday, June 11th, which aka means just over a 2-week break for the series. This will be the first time since 2019 that the Pinty series has raced here, as the province of Quebec did not shy away from becoming extremely strict during the pandemic due to high numbers. The last time the series raced there, Raphael Lessard scored the win, as Mother Nature called the race with only 15 laps remaining. Speaking of Lessard, that's who my winner pick will be for the Chaudière race. With how dominant he was in the 2019 race, and his performance at Sunset as well, there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to be the top contender for the win. However, with a bunch of new faces entering the mix, considering that it's been 3 years since the last race, anything is possible. There is no entry list as of me talking right now, nor is there an official race name, so stay tuned on my community tab, as I will be posting updates whenever they wish to pop up. Be sure to tune in once again if you can, whether it's on tsn.ca, the TSN app, or FloRacing, which all do require a subscription by the way, and continue to show your support for the NASCAR Pinty series in whatever way you choose to do so, or whatever way is available for you. So, that's going to do it for this one. You got any thoughts? Leave them in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe and give this a thumbs up. My name's Reegser, or Reeks for short, and thanks for watching. Have a good one.